we're going to look at what character archetypes there are in Mortal Kombat 1 and what all of them mean. I will go through them quickly because I did discuss this in a previous Mortal Kombat 1 beginner guide, and I will link the entire playlist for you guys. But this video is supposed to like go along with it because I did say I was going to do this specifically just to help you guys, especially beginners to fighting games or maybe just beginner to Mortal Kombat, to figure out which character archetypes will fit you best. This is going to specifically apply to the base characters, not base characters with cameos, and this is just to figure out who you want to main depending on your playstyle. Obviously, if you pair any character with a cameo, you can get like a hybrid and a mashup of a lot of these. And generally speaking, in the Mortal Kombat games, you don't have like actually set character archetypes like you would find in other fighting games. So it does get a bit complicated, and that is why I'm making this video. So Rushdown is a character that wants to pressure the opponent all the time, whether it's on block, on knockdown. They just don't want to make the opponent breathe at all. A mix-up character is a character that has overhead and low options on the same string, which forces the opponent to guess which option they will choose, and if you guess wrong, well, GG's, shake my hand, you get full combo punished, and in this game that often means like 50%. So a setup character is a character that has a mechanic or a special where they put something on the screen, whether it's on the ground or in the air, that forces you to defend against it, or you'll get caught in that particular setup and usually you'll get comboed. I know it doesn't sound super clear, but it will make sense when I start placing characters in here. And a zoner, of course, is a character that wants to play at mid to long range. They want to use projectiles to continuously knock down the opponent and make sure that they stay away from them. A grappler is a character that wants to be in your face. He usually doesn't have really great mobility, but once they are in your face, they will do a ton of damage with command grabs. Whiff punishers are characters that have normals or attack strings that reach pretty far, so it's easier for them to whiff punish the opponent. Let's get started with the rushdown section, which is probably the easiest. So we're gonna put Johnny in here. He has so many good buttons, a million overheads. He's practically not unsafe on anything, as well as the ability to stagger very well. Now next in the rushdown section is Melina. Melina, as you guys know, is my main. Even though she doesn't have the most amazing buttons, she still is a very good rushdown character. Has such an amazing meaty, so she's really good at the Oki and meaty game. Next, I would put Baraka in the rushdown section because he has such good buttons. He has this attack string that goes from mid to low. Like, that is so stupid. You could also make a case for him to be with a Punisher because he does have a lot of long ranging attacks. After playing against a lot of them in the Combat League, I feel like he's way more of a rush down, with some whiff punishing sprinkled in, right? Next in the rush down section, we're gonna put a My Boy Smoke right here. And although his buttons aren't really great and he has so many gaps everywhere and it's pretty much easy to counter him if you know what you're doing, he is the #1 scrub killer because he has so many overhead to lows and overhead. And his main combo pop-up is a low, right? And he can also go invisible, which means you won't even see the mix-ups he's going to do. One we're going to put in the rushdown section, in my opinion, is Nitara. Now I know Nitara doesn't have great buttons, however she doesn't have a lot of range. Some of her kick strings are extremely slow, but she also sort of has some setups in a way because with her blood ritual gimmick, she can like get dot damage from her spit that she does, and most of her main attack strings are like short stubby claw attacks. Moving on to the mix-up section, this is pretty obvious. We're going to put Kenshi here. He could fit in Rushdown, obviously, but he's like a hybrid of both. In my opinion, I think it's his mix-ups that make him really, really scary and that define his playstyle. So if you're about that life, then Kenshi is probably the character for you. He's just a bit more complex to play because you have to figure out how to play him as well as the ghost at the same time if you really want to be effective with him. Next up in the mix-up section, we're going to put a Reptile. I don't think he's Rushdown because I don't believe he necessarily has really fast buttons or really good ones, but he does have low and overhead options on his strings. However, I think he's unsafe on a lot of his mix-ups and stuff like that. And it seems that you really have to condition your opponent to make this guy work. Now, Havoc is so hard to play because he does have a lot of good up-close pressure. I don't know how much of it is real or not, but he also has a few mix-up options on one of his strings. And he also has some really good projectiles if he wants to zone you, right? Depending on which cameo you pair him with. But most people that I saw play him a rushdown, so I will put him in the rushdown section. Next up, Kung Lao. This guy will always be a rushdown character. He's always so annoying to deal with in every single MK game he's in. He specifically has so many great buttons, so many great tools up close to make your life a living hell. Now let's go in the setup section. I think Garrus fits here because of his time shenanigans. I think he can rewind time, and then with the gimmick of his hourglass. So obviously you have to set up your opponent to get the 3 hourglasses, which I think there's a few attacks or a few attack strings you have to do in order to build it up. And then you can cash in on it, which to me is pretty indicative of a setup character. And the next setup character is Kitana. Kitana has a ground fan that she can put either close to her, mid-screen, or close to you, and if you step in it and don't block it, you will get popped up for a combo. Now the only problem with Kitana's setup fans is that it's so freaking slow to put on the ground, and it's pretty much just a gimmick. I'm not sure if you can actually make the trap 100% guaranteed, maybe with Jack's cameo, because it's so freaking slow to start up. Now the last setup character is Li Mei. Because of her lantern, right? She wants to set that up in order to get some really big combos, and she's definitely not meant to be played like rushdown. She's also more of a zoner / setup hybrid because she doesn't have a lot of good up close buttons. So you really want to play her kind of like mid-screen and then just set up your lanterns to get some big juicy damage. Now let's go to people's favorite section, which is the zoners. So for the zoners, it's pretty obvious we got our boy Rain. He has long range normals, a lot of projectiles, but he's also pretty slow up close. Next, when it comes to zoners, we have Liu Kang. But it's so weird to see him as a zoner in a Mortal Kombat game. Usually he's more like rushdown. I still have PTSD from Liu Kang's in a Combat League from MK11. But he does have a really good mid. I think he has like one of the best mids in the game. However, all of his other attack strings are pretty freaking slow, so you really want to play him long to mid-range. Next up, we're going to put a Sindel in the zoner section. There's a lot of options to push you back when it comes to her attack strings, but she has some really freaking good projectiles, and she doesn't seem like she has some really good options up close. Next, in the zoner section, we're going to put Shang Tsung. He's always typically a zoner, and I do think he fits best in zoner though, however, because he has one string that you have 2 options on it. One is a low and 2 is a knockdown. And then some of his specials, like the one where you infect the person with Tarkat, he pushes them full screen as well. Now Raiden, I wanted to place him earlier, but he's really hard to place in my opinion because he doesn't have mix-ups per se, but he can combo off of lows, he can combo off of overheads, and he will do a ton of damage, but he doesn't have the best buttons and he's kind of slow, so to me, that sounds like he would fit really well as a whiff punisher. And that's how people tend to play him, right? They tend to play more patiently in neutral, wait for you to do something stupid, and then go into the kick string or the overhead for a full like 50% combo, right? And on that note, actually Ashra, I would put her there as well for the same reasons. She has some really good range with her sword, and because of that she can like punish a lot of stuff. She can catch a lot of people slipping, not blocking in neutral. But she is also sort of a stance character, right? She has a stance. In a way, she kind of is set up as well because you need to put like 3 dark charges on them to do more damage in the light stance. So again, she is a hybrid of a whiff punisher setup stance character. I told y'all it was confusing when it came to archetypes in Mortal Kombat. Next we have Raiko, and I'm gonna put him in Grappler because of his command grab. However, don't really need to play him like a Grappler. Even his base kit, he has some really good projectiles which Grapplers usually don't have. And he also has like a slide that goes almost full screen. But because his attacks kind of reach really far, especially his kick strings, I would say he's more of a whiff punisher than a Grappler. But Mortal Kombat games never really had dedicated Grapplers. Even when it comes to NRS, I think the only one I can think of on the top of my head is Bane and Injustice 2. Next up we have Scorpion, which I'm gonna put in with Punisher because he has some really good long range normals. He has one mid which doesn't have a great range. However, I still think that most people will play him more on the with Punisher side and play in neutral until they can punish the opponent, especially with Spear Right. You know, if they catch you slipping, it's a full combo. Next we have a Shao Kahn, and I believe he is a whiff punisher as well. A lot of people play him that way. They want to get that back to launcher off of you right in neutral. He also has like an armored wake up launcher, which is insane, and he does a ton of damage. Again, this is just from my experience, especially playing against him in a combat league. People play him very neutral heavy. Next up we have the Sub-Zero, and he's also hard to place because he's not technically a mix-up character, but he still has a lot of options because of his low slide. I kind of want to put him in with Punisher because he's really good at that, and I can't really say that his clone is like, it makes him defensive, so he's not really a setup character either, so I think I will put him in mix-ups. But you can make a case for with Punisher as well, of course. Now the last one is Tanya, and she will go in with Punishers. That is a no-brainer for her. She has some really good anti-airs, and she has some long-range normals because of her sticks. It's kind of crazy. I haven't played against her a lot, however, she doesn't look like she's super good up close, but she has some really great range. I think people who like playing patiently and like playing in neutral a lot will like this character. So that is my list. Let me know if you would place any character differently, but I think in general, if you are not sure who to main, then you know, look at the category of a playstyle that fits you best and try out these characters and see if you vibe with them. That said, I hope you have yourself a wonderful day, and I'll see you all very soon.